Well, we've really seen personalised medicine or personalised healthcare as being something that's much more precise, it's much more predictable, it's often safer, can be delivered sometimes as a single agent. The expectation can be that that personalised medicine can have high efficacy, but also reduce toxicity. So it really is, from both a physician and a patient perspective, quite transformative. We've always accepted, I think, both diagnostically and implicitly therapeutically, that cancer is very heterogeneous, that heterogeneity exists. So for instance, PI3 kinase mutations may occur across multiple malignancies, and that may play into the therapeutics that we want to use. And we're now understanding that that is not only between patients, but actually also sometimes within the same patients, and that transition of molecular change actually changes with a patient over time. So all of those features means that we have to think about tumours in a rather different way than we perhaps did in the past, when we were doing things much more empirically. We have anatomical tumour specialists, breast cancer, lung cancer, colon cancer, etc. In the early phase part of development, then the expertise perhaps need to be constructed somewhat differently, so that one might perhaps recognise that someone is an expert in cell cycle control or programmed cell death or angiogenesis. So I think that the way that oncologists view themselves inevitably will shift, but it perhaps differs between whether they're in late phase development and treatment in phase 3, or whether they're in really experimental medicine, where obviously science is still trying to be applied in a clinical setting. Typically at the moment we will look at a very limited range of diagnostics and biomarkers at original diagnosis, but we need to look much wider than that in the future. And also we need, as I've mentioned before, we need to look across the piece at different time points in the patient's illness. And what that means is that we need to be able to assess the biomarker, assess the molecular profile more easily, because perhaps sometimes we may not be able to biopsy the tumour. So we may need to look at blood, circulating free DNA, circulating tumour cells, other media into which we can gain molecular information. Well, it's certainly about efficacy in the sense that in the situation where personalised medicine is successful, then rapid, sustained, durable responses can be achieved. But often in those sort of circumstances, one can deliver treatment as a single agent, and that means less toxicity and better quality of life. And treatment with the right personalised medicine in the right patient at the right time can really transform their lives. Well, I think at the moment we've still got huge scientific gaps in our knowledge, and to some extent we need to try and fill those gaps in as quickly as we can. I think we need to build the piece in terms of that collaboration across all the organisations that are charged with delivering personalised healthcare in the future, and that's pharma, academia, universities, healthcare providers like hospitals, biomarker development companies, bioinformaticians, geneticists. It really needs all of those partners to come together to address the needs and the shortfall that we have. But those partnership arrangements can be very synergistic, and they're beginning to gather momentum as we move forward. So I'm very optimistic about the future of personalised healthcare, and I think patients will stand to benefit enormously in the future from it. Because there is the worry that one might leave behind tumour subclasses or subgroups of patients in whom research is less successful, or it's more challenging, and we therefore need partnerships between industry, non-governmental agencies and universities to try and bridge those gaps, because we don't want to leave behind difficult to treat tumours like pancreatic cancer or lung cancer in developing personalised medicine simply because they're less commercially viable for pharmaceutical companies. And that comes back to this issue of really making sure that there's a partnership in the players in delivering it in the future.